If you want more peace, more power, and more progress, learn to keep more to yourself. There's a skill that most people never learn. It's not taught in school, it's not talked about much, but it separates the wise from the careless. And that's the ability to master the art of keeping things to yourself. You don't need to share everything you feel. You don't need to explain every step you take. The more you talk, the more you give people room to judge, question, doubt, or interrupt your growth. That's the hard truth. Strong people don't announce every move. They don't speak just to be accepted. They know what to hold back. They know when silence protects more than words ever could. And they don't let just anyone access their mind, their plans, or their heart. In this video, you'll learn how to build that strength, how to stop oversharing, how to protect your energy, and how to speak with purpose, not pressure. If you've ever felt like you give too much, talk too soon, or trust too easily, this message is for you. This is about getting your power back, one quiet decision at a time. Number 1, hold back your thoughts until you fully understand them. If you want to live a stronger life, a more focused life, a wiser life, then here's something you need to start practicing today. Hold back your thoughts until you fully understand them. Don't be in a rush to speak. Don't be quick to share what you haven't thought through. It's not about staying silent forever. It's about giving your thoughts time to mature before you release them into the world. People get into trouble because they talk too early. They express things they haven't worked out yet. And once you say something, you can't pull it back. It's out there. Whether it was right or wrong, useful or useless, strong or weak, it's already shaping how people see you. And the worst part, sometimes it wasn't even what you truly meant. It was just the version that came out first because you didn't wait to understand it. There's power in thinking things through. There's strength in holding back what hasn't been fully processed. Most people don't do this. They react. They speak fast. They chase attention. They want to be the first to say something. But what does that get you? Misunderstandings, regrets, relationships that suffer, opportunities that disappear, all because you didn't take a moment to sit with your own thoughts. You see, your mind is like a workshop. Thoughts come in raw, they're incomplete, they're messy, they're emotional. And before you send them out, before you speak them, you need to do the work of refining them. You need to ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this real? Is this what I believe after I calm down? Or is this just what I feel in the heat of the moment? I've watched people destroy their progress in life just because they didn't think before they spoke. They shared a frustration too early. They revealed a goal they weren't ready to chase. They gave advice they didn't fully believe. Why? Because they didn't take time to understand their own mind. And when your mind is unclear, your words are dangerous. If you're working on yourself, if you're growing, then a big part of that growth is learning how to wait before speaking. You want your words to carry weight. You want them to reflect the strongest version of your thinking, not the first draft. And that takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes emotional control. Now, this isn't about being afraid to speak. This is about being wise enough to speak at the right time with the right level of understanding. That's what strong people do. They don't overshare. They don't ramble. They don't jump into conversations unprepared. They observe. They study themselves. They ask questions in their own mind. They challenge their own reactions before they give them a voice. And you know what that does? That earns you respect. People listen when you speak because they know you don't speak just to speak. You speak because you've thought it through. You've weighed it. You've considered how it sounds, how it feels, and what it means. And that kind of discipline creates power in your presence. Think about how many arguments happen because someone didn't wait. How many problems grow because someone spoke too soon. How many chances are lost because someone revealed something they didn't need to. Life is already full of noise. Don't add more to it. Add clarity, add strength, add silence when it's needed, and speak when you have something solid to say. Here's a simple example. Say someone criticizes you. Your first thought might be anger, defensiveness. You want to snap back. You want to correct them. But if you pause, if you hold that thought, you give yourself a chance to think, is this worth responding to? Is this person even right? What do I actually feel about this? And sometimes when you sit with it, you realize you don't even need to respond. You grow through that moment by staying still. Or maybe you're working on something important. You've got a big goal, but you haven't figured it out yet. It's not clear. It's not steady. And someone asks you what you're doing. If you speak too soon, you might share it in a weak way. You might doubt yourself. You might say something you'll regret later. But if you hold that thought, if you wait until the vision is clearer, then when you speak, it'll sound like you mean it. It'll feel real. That's how progress sticks. You don't owe anyone a response just because they're curious. You don't have to share your emotions just because you feel them. You don't have to give your opinion just because someone asked. What you need to do is learn the value of holding space for your own thoughts privately, quietly, deeply, until you understand what you're really dealing with. We live in a time where everyone talks too much and thinks too little. Don't be one of them. Don't confuse expression with intelligence. Don't confuse noise with growth. Growth happens in silence first, in reflection, in control, in self-awareness. That's where you figure things out. And once you've figured them out, then you speak if needed. And when you do, people feel the strength in your voice. Holding back your thoughts doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're sharp. It means you care about your words. It means you're not here to impress people with reactions. You're here to build something strong with intention. So next time you feel like speaking fast, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, do I understand this yet? Am I clear on what I feel, what I know, and what I believe? If the answer is no, then wait. Hold it back. Sit with it longer. Understand it better. Then speak. Because once your thoughts are clear, once your emotions are calm, your words will carry meaning. And that's what changes your life. That's what earns respect. That's what creates momentum. And that's how you master the art of keeping things to yourself, by knowing what's worth saying and when it's worth saying. Number 2, learn to stay quiet when ego wants attention. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room isn't the one that's speaking. It's the one in your head begging to be noticed. That's ego. And ego always wants to be seen, heard, and validated. But the truth is, most of the time, the best thing you can do is stay quiet. When ego wants to prove something, that's exactly when you should pull back. When you feel the need to explain, defend, or impress, ask yourself who you're really doing it for. Often, it's not about truth or growth. It's about feeding your need to be admired. The problem with ego is that it doesn't care about peace. It wants credit. It wants to win. It wants to look important. And if you're not careful, ego will drag you into pointless arguments, fake confidence, and emotional outbursts. Ego turns every moment into a performance. But life doesn't reward noise. It rewards clarity. When you learn to stay quiet in the moments when ego screams the loudest, you take control. You don't react. You respond. And only when it actually matters. That kind of silence builds real strength. It earns you respect without ever asking for it. People who are ruled by ego talk too much. They say things they don't mean just to sound smart. They tell stories just to get attention. They argue just to feel right. But every time you speak from ego, you give away your power. You start living for the outside world. You care more about being admired than being aligned. And slowly, you lose touch with who you really are. Learning to stay quiet in those moments doesn't make you weak. It means you've started choosing what truly matters over what only feels good for a second. Think about the moments when you felt the strongest. I guarantee you it wasn't when you exploded. It wasn't when you showed off. It wasn't when you bragged. It was when you kept your control. It was when you didn't say what you could have. It was when you walked away without the need to prove anything. That's when you felt solid. That's when you knew who you were. That's what happens when you learn to stay quiet when ego wants attention. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't serve you. You save it for what actually builds your life. Ego wants to win every small moment. But life is about winning the long game. And the long game is not about impressing people. It's about becoming someone you respect when you're alone. Every time you silence the ego, you create more space inside for growth. You give yourself time to reflect. You don't just react, you understand. And that's rare. Most people talk before they think. They shout before they learn. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose patience. You can choose stillness. You can choose growth over attention. It takes real discipline to say nothing when you feel the urge to say everything. It takes maturity to hold your tongue when someone disrespects you or challenges you or questions you. But here's the truth. Most people who try to get a reaction from you are not even thinking clearly themselves. If you react to them, you join their confusion. But if you stay quiet, you stay in control. You don't lose your balance. You don't say something you regret. You don't act like you're desperate to be seen. You hold your ground by staying calm. There's a kind of quiet that comes from power, not fear, not insecurity, just solid inner power. You don't need to defend everything. You don't need to reply to every comment. You don't need to raise your voice just to prove you're right. Real power shows up in how you carry yourself when you're silent, when your actions are aligned with your values, when your peace matters more than your pride. That's when you're truly getting stronger, because you're not being pulled around by your ego anymore. You're choosing who you want to be every time. We all have moments where ego wants to jump in. Maybe someone challenges your ideas. Maybe someone tries to show you up. Maybe someone acts like they're better than you. That's the moment to stay calm. Not because you're avoiding the truth, but because you're choosing self-control. You're choosing to protect your energy. You're choosing to handle it on your terms. Staying quiet isn't avoiding the problem. It's handling it with clarity and strength. You're not letting your emotions control your actions. That's what separates a person who grows from a person who only reacts. Every time you let ego speak for you, you close a door to a better conversation, a door to understanding, a door to growth. But when you pause, when you hold back, you give yourself room to think, to really see what's going on, to choose how to respond, if at all. Some people won't understand your silence. That's okay. You're not here to explain everything. You're here to live with intention. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means strength with direction. You don't need to be loud to be clear. You just need to be sure of yourself. The world trains you to always have something to say, but your real power shows when you don't say everything you could. You know when to speak and when to wait. You know when your ego's talking and when your truth is. That's how you master the art of keeping things to yourself. Not by shutting down, but by choosing your words carefully, by choosing your peace over your pride, and by knowing that the person with the most to prove often proves the least. Speak only when your heart is calm and your mind is clear. That's real strength. Number 3, say less today, so your actions speak tomorrow. You don't need to tell the world everything you're working on. Most people announce things they haven't earned yet. They talk about plans that haven't even started. But here's the truth. Real progress doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you do. When you hold back from explaining yourself and instead invest that energy into action, your results speak louder than any explanation ever could. Words are easy. Promises are easy. What's not easy is following through. That's why so many people speak and so few deliver. Speak less today, and let tomorrow prove who you are. You gain clarity when you stop talking about everything and start doing something about it. Talking makes people feel like they're moving forward, but most of the time they're just spinning in circles. You don't need to tell everyone your goal. You don't need to prove anything through conversation. Put your head down, do the work, say nothing. Let the results speak for you. People may not understand your silence now, but they'll respect your success later. They'll see what you built while they were still busy trying to impress people with talk that had no weight. A quiet grind builds a louder outcome. The more you say today, the more pressure you put on yourself to perform for others. But when you hold back, when you stay disciplined in your silence, you shift your focus back to yourself, not on their opinions, not on their approval, but on the action that matters. If you tell someone what you plan to do, they may not believe you, or worse, they'll start watching, judging, doubting, and that pressure can crush your progress. But when no one knows, there's no pressure, just action, just results. It's easy to say things like, I'm going to change, or I'll be successful, or watch what I'm about to do. That gives you a quick high, but then what? You still have to put in the time. You still have to face the hard parts. And now you've added an audience that expects something from you. Say less. You don't owe people a preview. You don't need to advertise every move. Use the silence as your space to build. That's where confidence grows. In private, in quiet. Where you're not performing, you're just working. Honestly, fully. Many people speak about their dreams but never see them come to life. Not because they can't, but because they talk too much and work too little. You don't need to prove anything right now. You need to stay committed to the process. You need to stay rooted in your reason. Talking too much weakens that. It spreads your focus thin. Action is focused. Talking is scattered. Keep your focus sharp by saying less. Don't waste energy explaining what you could be building. Those who truly want to grow know how to hold their words and raise their standards instead. Every time you talk about something before it's real, you make it harder to finish. Your brain gets tricked into feeling satisfied just by saying it out loud. But that satisfaction is false. It's a distraction. It steals your drive. Think about how powerful it feels to finish something and say nothing, to accomplish something and let people discover it on their own. That's real strength. That's real control. People who always talk are chasing attention, but the ones who stay quiet are chasing something bigger, self-respect. And when that shows up, everyone feels it without needing a word. You don't have to update people every time you take a step forward. You don't have to explain what you're fixing, healing, learning, or building. In fact, it's better that you don't. Let them wonder. Let them assume nothing is happening. Let them forget about you. Because while they're distracted, you're becoming someone better. That kind of silence is strategic. It protects your energy. It shields your work. It gives you freedom to grow without noise, opinions, or doubt standing in your way. The more you keep inside, the more powerful your next step becomes. There's value in privacy. Not everything is meant to be shared. Not every plan needs an audience. When you talk too much, you open the door for distractions. People will ask questions, offer opinions, give advice you didn't ask for, and suddenly your vision gets cloudy. Your path starts to shift. You begin adjusting your plan to fit someone else's comfort zone. That's how you lose yourself. But when you stay silent, the only voice you hear is your own. You stay aligned, you stay focused, you stay real. That's the strength of saying less and doing more. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to move in silence. Most people don't know the difference. They think talking is progress. It's not. Talking is a delay. Action is the real movement. If you want something to change, stop explaining it and start doing something about it. People may not notice today. They may not ask questions. That doesn't matter, because tomorrow your actions will say everything that needed to be said, and they won't need your voice to back it up. It will be written in your habits, your discipline, your results. You become more powerful the moment you stop looking for attention and start building for yourself. You become more trustworthy the moment you stop selling your ideas and start living your truth. Don't speak to be seen. Speak when it's needed. Let your actions shape your identity. Let your work be the proof. The day you stop explaining yourself is the day you start getting serious about your life. Let your silence be your focus. Let your progress speak for you when it's ready. Say less today. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're too busy becoming someone who doesn't need to say it. Number 4. Keep quiet about changes until they become results. Real change takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But the mistake most people make is they start talking about their changes before anything has even happened. They tell everyone they're turning their life around, they're changing their habits, they're becoming someone new, but nothing's real yet. It's still in their head. It's still just talk. And when you talk too early, you set yourself up for failure. Because now people are watching, now there's pressure, now there's expectation. That kind of pressure doesn't help growth, it interrupts it. Keep your changes private until they become a natural part of you. When you speak about change too early, you give yourself a false sense of progress. Just saying the words makes you feel like you've already taken action, but you haven't. You've just made it public, and now your energy shifts from doing the work to managing people's opinions. You feel the need to update them, explain yourself, prove something, and slowly you lose touch with the work itself. Real growth needs silence. It needs patience. It needs focus, without distraction. That's why keeping quiet isn't avoidance, it's protection. You protect your process until it becomes part of who you are. Most people don't need to hear what you're changing. They don't need to know what you're working on. Not yet, not while it's still fragile. Because people will judge you based on who you were, not who you're becoming. They'll doubt you. They'll question your motives. They'll throw their opinions at you. And if you're not strong enough yet, those doubts can make you second guess yourself. You don't need that. Your energy belongs to your growth, not to defending it. Speak later. Speak when your results can't be denied, when your change has already happened, not when it's just starting. There's something powerful about becoming different without announcing it. You walk into the same room, but you're not the same person. You face the same problems, but you handle them differently. That kind of change is earned in silence. You don't explain it. You live it. People notice it, not because you said it, but because they feel it. That's real progress. That's the kind of change that sticks. Not the one you broadcast, but the one you embody. So when you're making shifts in your life, don't talk, don't post, don't preach. Just work on it quietly and consistently. Early change is fragile. It's still growing. It's still shaky. Like a small flame, it can go out with one strong wind. That's why you protect it. You don't expose it too early. You let it build strength. You stay committed when no one's watching. You improve even when no one claps. And when the time comes, the results will speak for themselves. That's when you let people see. Not because you need their approval, but because the results are now undeniable. That's how you protect your progress. You let it grow roots before you let it grow branches. The more you talk about what you're changing, the more attention you attract, and attention brings distraction. Now people are watching you. Now you feel pressure to live up to the image you created. But you don't need that. You don't need to prove anything while you're still building. What you need is focus. What you need is peace. Keep it simple. Work in silence. Make your moves privately. The ones who really change their life don't talk about it during the process. They wait until the process becomes the new version of who they are. You're not here to impress anyone with promises. You're here to build a better life with discipline. Promises mean nothing if there's no proof behind them. If you tell people you're changing and then you don't, they stop believing you. You stop believing you. It creates doubt. But when you stop saying it and start becoming it, everything shifts. Your actions become your message. Your results become your statement. And that speaks louder than anything you could have said. So focus on building. Keep your vision to yourself. Let your new habits show when they're strong enough to last. Growth feels uncomfortable in the beginning. It doesn't look perfect. It's filled with mistakes and setbacks. And if you expose it too early, you risk quitting just to avoid embarrassment. But when you grow privately, you allow yourself room to fail without shame. You give yourself space to learn. You keep moving without the weight of opinions. That's how change becomes permanent. Not because you shouted it, but because you survived it. Because you stayed with it long enough to let it become natural. You don't owe the world an explanation while you're still evolving. You owe yourself the time to do it right. It's okay to change in silence. You're not hiding. You're focusing. You're working through the hardest parts without needing applause. You're giving yourself permission to grow without judgment. Most people won't understand your silence, and that's fine. You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for your future. Let your silence become your strategy. Let your results become your introduction. When you become different, people will notice. And when they ask how, you won't need to explain. They'll see it in how you speak, how you act, how you move. That's what real transformation looks like. Don't rush to show people what you're working on. Wait until you don't have to say anything at all. Wait until your new behavior speaks for you, until your energy is different, until your standards are higher, until your mindset is stronger. That's when people will notice. That's when you'll know you've changed for real. Because real change doesn't need an audience. It just needs commitment. So keep quiet while you're changing. Keep your focus. Keep your drive. And when it's time, your life will reflect every silent decision you made to be better, and it will speak louder than you ever could. Number 5, stay silent around people who don't listen anyway. There's no point in speaking to people who only want to respond, not understand. When someone doesn't truly listen, your words don't land. They bounce off. They disappear into noise. You're left repeating yourself, explaining more than you should, and getting frustrated for being ignored. That's emotional exhaustion. It drains your energy and builds silent resentment. But you can avoid all of it by staying quiet. Not every situation deserves your input. Not every person is ready to hear you. And the more you learn to recognize who listens and who doesn't, the easier it becomes to protect your peace. Many people listen only to reply. They don't hear your words, they wait for their turn. They interrupt. They judge. They twist your meaning. And the more you try to explain, the more it feels like a fight, not a conversation. Real listening takes maturity. It takes humility. It takes effort. And most people just don't have it. So stop wasting your breath. Don't try to change someone who isn't open. Don't try to teach someone who thinks they already know everything. Sometimes silence is your smartest move. It keeps you from battles that don't matter. You can't grow when you're always explaining yourself to people who don't care. Every time you talk to someone who refuses to hear you, you lose a piece of your confidence. You start questioning your worth, your thoughts, your feelings. But the problem isn't you, it's that you're trying to connect with someone who isn't interested in connection. That's why staying quiet matters. It's not cold. It's not rude. It's clarity. It's emotional intelligence. It's knowing when to pull back. You don't owe your thoughts to people who haven't earned your trust or your effort. There are people who hear every word you say, and still, nothing changes. You tell them the truth. You speak from experience. You even share your heart. And they nod, smile, then do the same thing all over again. That's not listening. That's pretending. And you don't need to participate in that. You're not here to repeat yourself for people who live in denial. You're not responsible for opening closed minds. When you notice the pattern, stop feeding it. Silence can say everything you need to. It can communicate distance, clarity, and self-respect all at once. You have limited energy. Use it where it counts. There are people out there who are ready to listen, ready to grow, ready to hear you. Save your voice for them. Don't pour your time into a wall that doesn't move. Your ideas deserve more than an empty response. Your truth deserves more than fake agreement. And your emotions deserve more than being ignored. Choose wisely. Choose who you give your voice to. And when you're surrounded by people who don't value what you say, the best thing you can do is say nothing. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Trying to convince someone who's already decided not to listen is a waste of your time. They've made up their mind. And no matter how clear you are, they'll twist it, reject it, or ignore it. Not because you're wrong, but because they're not ready. You don't need to push. You don't need to beg for understanding. Real communication is a two-way street. If they won't meet you halfway, stop walking toward them. Let them sit in silence while you move forward. Keep your thoughts private. Keep your intentions clear. And keep your distance from noise that doesn't serve you. Some people ask for your thoughts, but they don't actually want your honesty. They want agreement. They want validation. They want comfort, not growth. And when you say something real, they get defensive. They push back. They shut you down. That's a sign to stay silent. You don't need to explain your perspective to people who fear truth. You don't need to soften your voice to make them comfortable. Your job isn't to please people. It's to stay real, stay calm, and stay focused on what matters. Don't argue with closed minds. Build in silence. Move with purpose. When someone doesn't value your words, they don't deserve more of them. You already tried. You already gave them your time. If they threw it away, that's their choice. Don't keep offering what they've proven they don't appreciate. You're not here to be everyone's teacher. You're not here to fix what someone refuses to see. Walk away from dead conversations. Use your silence as your answer. Let them feel your absence. Let them notice your withdrawal. And let your peace grow in spaces where you don't have to fight to be heard. That's where your energy belongs. Silence is a strong response when used with intention. It sends a message. I'm no longer wasting time. I'm no longer fighting to be seen. I'm no longer repeating myself. That message is powerful, and it shifts how people treat you. If they care, they'll notice. If they don't, you've just saved yourself more pain. Either way, silence protects your growth. It gives you back your time. It helps you focus on what's real. So stay silent around people who don't listen. Let your actions show your worth. Let your peace speak your value. That's how you grow quietly and fully. There's a point where you realize silence isn't empty. It's full of control. You don't have to prove your point. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to explain yourself over and over. You can simply choose to stop, to reserve your words for people who care, to save your thoughts for those who listen with respect. The moment you stop chasing attention from the wrong people, you start attracting better ones. That's what mastering yourself looks like. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It's silent, strong, and steady. That's the power of keeping things to yourself. Number 6. Control your urge to explain what they won't value. Not everyone will understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, and that's okay. You don't need to explain yourself to people who aren't willing to listen with an open mind. When someone isn't ready to understand, your explanation becomes noise. It doesn't land. It doesn't matter how clear or honest you are. If they don't value your thoughts, your effort becomes a waste of emotional energy. The urge to explain everything comes from a place of wanting to be seen and accepted, but there comes a time when you must protect your energy, not waste it. There's nothing wrong with keeping things to yourself, especially when you know they won't be appreciated. Most people only listen to respond or to judge, not to truly understand. And when you start explaining your actions, your thoughts, your goals to those kinds of people, you invite doubt, judgment, and resistance. That doesn't help you grow. It distracts you. You don't need to defend your progress. You don't need to prove your intentions. Sometimes silence is the smartest move you can make. It's not weakness. It's a decision to honor what matters to you more than what others think. Trying to explain yourself to someone who's already made up their mind is like shouting into a locked room. It changes nothing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you've chosen to improve, why you've let go of certain things, or why you're focused on your path. If they don't see the value in your growth, they won't appreciate your reasons either. You're not responsible for convincing people of your worth. You're responsible for living in a way that feels right to you. Hold back your urge to explain and keep walking forward in your truth. It's easy to feel misunderstood when you're making changes in your life. You might want people to know you're not the same, that you're working on yourself, that you're becoming someone better. But if they've already decided who you are, they'll keep seeing the old version of you. And trying to explain the new you to people stuck on the past only drains your motivation. You can't change someone's perspective by explaining harder. You change it by showing consistency over time. Until then, protect your growth, keep your progress to yourself. Share only with people who truly value it. The truth is, when people want to understand you, they will. They'll ask with curiosity, not judgment. They'll listen without interrupting. They'll reflect before responding. Those are the people who deserve your time, your thoughts, your explanations. But when someone dismisses you, cuts you off, or tries to twist your words, that's your signal to stop. Don't explain anything. Don't try to convince them. They've shown you they don't value your voice, so keep it. Keep it for yourself. Let your peace become more important than their approval. That's how you stay focused on what really matters. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're not here to fit into everyone's expectations. The more you explain yourself to people who don't value you, the more you shrink to meet their comfort zone. And that's not where growth happens. Growth happens in solitude, in discipline, in keeping quiet when it would be easier to defend yourself. That's real maturity, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. You're not hiding. You're choosing peace. You're not avoiding. You're protecting your progress. And the more you practice this, the more powerful and centered you become. It's a trap to think you must always justify your decisions. If someone doesn't believe in your vision, no amount of explanation will fix that. They've already decided what they want to see, and often they don't want to see you rise. Not because they're bad people, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. You explaining your changes won't inspire them, it will threaten them. So protect your vision by keeping it close. Keep it personal. Share it only with those who celebrate your effort, not those who question your every move. You'll feel tempted to speak, especially when people misunderstand you. You'll want to clear your name, fix the narrative, and make them see who you really are. But take a step back. Ask yourself if it's worth it. Ask yourself if they'd even hear it. Most people see what they want to see, not what you try to show them. So instead of chasing understanding, build results. Let your work, your attitude, your peace be your proof. That's the strongest answer you can give to someone who won't value your words. Silence backed by growth is louder than any speech. It's okay to be misunderstood by people who were never meant to walk your path. You don't need their approval to keep going. You don't need their permission to evolve. What you need is your own trust, your own focus, your own honesty. That's what keeps you moving. That's what keeps you grounded. And that's what helps you master the art of keeping things to yourself by recognizing who truly listens and who only pretends. Save your energy. Use it to build, to grow, to live with purpose, and keep your thoughts sacred when the world won't value them. Some things are meant to be kept private because their meaning is too deep for others to grasp. Your growth, your pain, your discipline, your healing. You don't have to explain any of it to people who see life on the surface. They won't get it, and that's okay. You're not here to be validated. You're here to live with intention. So every time you feel the urge to explain what they won't value, pause, let it pass. Remind yourself that your path doesn't need permission. It only needs consistency. And when the time is right, your life will speak for itself. Number 7, protect your energy by speaking only with purpose. Your energy is your life force. It's the fuel behind every decision, every action, every thought. And one of the biggest ways people waste it is by speaking without purpose. Talking just to talk. Explaining just to feel heard. Responding just to be included. All of that drains you. Every word takes energy. And when you speak without meaning, you give pieces of yourself away for nothing in return. The more you value your energy, the more careful you become with your words. You begin to ask yourself, is this worth saying, or am I just reacting out of habit? People often underestimate how much energy is lost through pointless conversations. You talk to fill silence. You share things that don't need to be shared. You respond to people who aren't listening. And by the end of the day, you feel exhausted, not from the work, but from the noise. If you want to feel stronger, clearer, more focused, learn to speak with intention. Say what needs to be said, and nothing more. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's smart. When your words have weight, they don't just serve others. They serve your own growth. You don't need to reply to everything. Not every comment deserves your time. Not every situation requires your opinion. When you speak just because you feel pressured to, you give your power away. But when you speak because you've thought it through, because it serves a clear purpose, your words hit differently. They land. They mean something. And most importantly, they don't leave you feeling empty. Purposeful speech is focused. It's clear. It's grounded in self-awareness. And the more you practice it, the more control you gain over your energy, your emotions, and your direction. When you speak without purpose, you invite noise. You open yourself up to confusion, to misinterpretation, to unnecessary conflict. And once that door is open, it takes effort to close it again. That effort drains your peace. But when you choose your words carefully, you limit that noise. You protect your inner space. You create a buffer between your mind and the chaos outside. Speaking with purpose means waiting until you know what you want to say. It means staying silent until your message is solid. That kind of discipline builds respect, both from others and from yourself. Every time you speak, you influence your surroundings. You either bring value or you feed distraction. When your words are intentional, they build trust. People know you're not just filling space, you're adding something real. And just as important, you protect your energy by not involving yourself in situations that don't align with your values. If a conversation doesn't serve your growth, step away. If someone drains your peace with endless talk, choose quiet. You're allowed to protect your space. You're allowed to speak less. And when you do, your life begins to reflect more focus and clarity. You have nothing to prove by always having something to say. That belief only traps you in cycles of overthinking and overtalking. Real strength is in choosing your words with care. Speak when your words carry value, not just volume. Speak when it adds clarity, not just sound. When you speak with purpose, people notice. They lean in. They listen more closely, not because you're loud, but because you speak with meaning. That kind of voice comes from knowing yourself. It comes from knowing your energy is sacred, and not everything deserves access to it. The need to always talk often comes from insecurity. You feel the need to fill space, so no one questions you. But the truth is, silence speaks confidence. When you're comfortable in who you are, you don't need to explain everything. You don't need to be in every conversation. You don't need to share every detail of your life. Speaking with purpose means speaking when you're ready, when the moment is right, when the message is useful. Everything else is noise. Everything else is a drain. You protect your energy by not using your voice where it brings no return. Your peace depends on what you allow into your mind, and your mouth is a door. What you say invites thoughts, reactions, emotions. So when your speech is careless, your mind becomes cluttered. But when your speech is careful, your mind becomes clearer. Speaking with purpose is about keeping that mental space clean. You don't just throw your thoughts out. You measure them. You ask, will this help? Will this hurt? Is this necessary? If the answer is no, you hold it in. Not from fear, but from respect for yourself and the path you're building. You're not obligated to explain your life to people who won't understand it. You're not required to speak just to make others comfortable. Your words should come from your truth, not from social pressure. The more you understand this, the more peaceful your life becomes. Speaking with purpose helps you build stronger boundaries. You learn to protect your emotional energy from gossip, from conflict, from shallow conversation. You become more selective, not out of pride, but out of care. Because you realize that every word you speak should move you forward, not just fill silence. Mastering the art of keeping things to yourself is not about isolation. It's about intention. It's about using your voice to build, not to react. It's about recognizing that your energy is limited, and every time you speak, you spend some of it. Spend it wisely. Don't waste it on arguments that don't matter, or people who won't listen. Speak only when it makes you stronger or moves your life forward. That's how you protect your energy. That's how you build a life of clarity, purpose, and peace. And that's how your words start to mean more by saying less. Number 8, let discipline guide your words in private moments. The most important conversations you'll ever have are the ones no one hears. They happen in your head, in your heart, in the quiet of your personal moments. These are the conversations that shape your life. And in those moments, you have a choice. Let your emotions take over, or let discipline lead. Discipline doesn't always feel good, but it always makes you better. It tells you when to speak, when to hold back, and when to walk away. When you practice discipline in private, you protect your future. You train your voice to serve you, not control you. There are times when you feel frustrated, hurt, misunderstood, and you want to vent. You want to say things just to get them off your chest. But in those private moments, when no one's around, discipline is your filter. It stops you from creating regret. It reminds you that not every thought needs to be spoken. It reminds you that silence isn't weakness. It's a form of self-respect. The more you trust discipline to guide your voice, the fewer messes you have to clean up later. It's not about being cold. It's about being in control of yourself. When you're alone, your mind runs wild. You replay old arguments. You imagine how you should have responded. You prepare for battles that might never happen. This is where discipline becomes your anchor. It stops you from saying things out loud that only build bitterness. It teaches you to choose words that bring calm instead of chaos. Private moments are where most people lose themselves, not in action, but in thinking out loud without guidance. That's why discipline is so important. It builds the habit of thinking before speaking, even when no one is watching. It's easy to believe that what you say in private doesn't matter, but your words shape your state of mind. If you let your emotions lead, your words become reckless, even if no one hears them. But when you stay disciplined, even in your quiet space, you keep your thoughts clean. You remind yourself who you are, what matters, and where you're going. That kind of self-talk builds strength. It gives you the ability to pause before reacting in public. Because by the time you get there, you've already practiced control in private. Discipline in private moments builds your identity. The more you choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, the more you become someone who doesn't need to shout to feel strong. You become someone who can feel deeply without being overwhelmed. You can disagree without disrespect. That power doesn't come from talent or luck. It comes from practice. And it starts when no one's around, when you're tired, when you're hurt, when you want to explode but choose not to. Those moments define your character more than anything people see on the surface. A lot of damage happens in moments when people speak without thinking. They say something in anger. They make a joke that cuts too deep. They open up to the wrong person. And once those words leave your mouth, you can't pull them back. That's why discipline matters. It stops you before you cross a line you can't uncross. In private moments, it gives you the space to process, to understand, to feel without reacting. When you train yourself to stay centered in those moments, you build a voice that's steady, calm, and trustworthy. Sometimes you're tempted to say things just to feel powerful, just to remind yourself that you're right. But discipline reminds you that power isn't proven by talking. It's proven by control. The ability to keep your words aligned with your values, even when emotions are high, is a rare kind of strength. It doesn't make you soft, it makes you sharp. Because you're not reacting to prove anything, you're responding with purpose. That level of control comes from hours, days, and years of choosing discipline when no one's around to praise you for it. The truth is, no one needs to hear everything you feel, and sometimes even you don't need to say it out loud. You need to sit with it, understand it, let it settle. That's where growth happens. That's how wisdom is built. You stop being ruled by your first impulse. You learn to wait, to watch, and to speak with clarity. That clarity only comes from discipline, from practicing silence when noise is easier, from choosing patience when reactions feel tempting. The better you get at this in private, the stronger your presence becomes in public. Not every emotion deserves a response. Not every situation needs a statement. Discipline teaches you how to hold your tongue, not out of fear, but out of strength. It teaches you how to pause, not because you're unsure, but because you value your peace more than being right. Private moments are where you develop that mindset. They're where you build your foundation. They're where you teach yourself to speak only when your heart is calm and your mind is clear. That's the level of self-mastery that makes you reliable, respected, and rooted. Mastering the art of keeping things to yourself doesn't mean you shut down or disconnect. It means you trust yourself enough to wait. You trust that not every feeling needs to be voiced. You trust that your discipline will protect you from saying what could hurt you later. That trust is built through quiet decisions, the ones you make when no one is there to stop you. Let discipline guide your words in private moments, and you'll find that your voice becomes stronger, clearer, and more meaningful. Not because you speak more, but because you speak with purpose. Number 9. Avoid talking just to feel accepted or seen. There's a deep human need to feel noticed, to feel like we matter, to feel like someone sees us. That's natural. But when you start using your words just to get attention, you begin to lose yourself. You speak not because you have something valuable to say, but because silence makes you feel invisible. That's a trap. Talking just to feel accepted makes you adjust your truth to fit in. You start saying what others want to hear. You abandon your values just to feel involved. And slowly, you become a version of yourself that's disconnected from who you really are. When you talk just to be liked, you lower your standards. You offer pieces of yourself that should remain private. You open up not because it's safe, but because you're afraid of being left out. That fear pushes you to overshare, overtalk, and overpromise. But here's the truth. People don't respect noise. They respect presence. And presence doesn't require constant talking. It requires quiet confidence. The more you chase attention, the more you move away from your core. Silence, when used right, shows strength. It tells the world that your worth isn't measured by how loud you are. Acceptance that is bought through talking too much is never real. It's based on performance, not connection. You have to keep showing up a certain way to keep it. That kind of acceptance is unstable. It changes when the crowd changes. But when you learn to stay quiet unless you truly have something to say, you build relationships based on honesty. You teach people to value your words. You stop using your voice to fit in and start using it to express your truth. That shift changes everything. It frees you from needing permission to be yourself. Sometimes people speak just to avoid the discomfort of silence. They feel like if they're not talking, they're being ignored. But silence isn't rejection, and space is where clarity lives. When you let go of the need to fill every quiet moment with words, you start hearing your own thoughts more clearly. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You start feeling grounded. You don't have to share your story to be worthy. You don't have to explain your every thought to feel seen. You have to believe your presence is enough, even in silence. The need to be seen can drive people to talk too much too soon to the wrong people. They reveal their goals, their pain, their opinions, hoping it will lead to connection. But often it leads to regret because not everyone is safe with your truth. Not everyone is ready to receive it. When you talk just to be accepted, you hand over power. You let others shape how you feel about yourself. But when you hold back and observe first, you give yourself the power to choose who deserves your voice. That's how you protect your self-worth. Every time you speak just to get noticed, you train yourself to need validation. And that becomes addictive. You look for reactions. You wait for responses. You tie your confidence to how others treat your words. But that's risky because people are inconsistent. If they ignore you, you feel small. If they praise you, you feel seen. That kind of emotional roller coaster is not sustainable. But when you speak from your center, when you speak only when it matters, you stop needing outside approval. You become enough in your own eyes. That's where real strength begins. There's nothing wrong with wanting connection, but it should come from who you are, not from who you pretend to be. When you talk just to be liked, you say things that aren't really yours. You agree with things you don't believe. You laugh at things that don't feel right. And in doing so, you teach yourself that fitting in is more important than being real. But if you stay true, if you talk only when you mean it, the right people will still come. They'll stay because of your honesty, not your performance. Protecting your voice starts with understanding its value. If you use it carelessly, others will too. But if you speak with purpose and clarity, you train others to listen differently. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to constantly post, share, or explain. You just have to know who you are and speak from that place. You will not be for everyone. And that's okay. What matters is that you stop talking just to feel important. Because the moment you stop chasing attention, you start building self-respect. You are not invisible when you're quiet. You are not forgotten when you pause. In fact, your silence often says more than your words ever could. When you no longer need to be heard to feel valued, you reclaim your power. You stop leaking energy trying to keep people's attention. You focus inward. You grow in peace. And you become someone who is not shaken by silence, who is not lost in stillness. That's where real power lives, in not needing to prove yourself with constant noise, but proving it with the quiet strength of self-trust. Mastering the art of keeping things to yourself is about choosing your voice wisely. It's about knowing that every time you speak, you're revealing a part of yourself. So don't give that away cheaply. Don't speak just to fill a void. Don't perform just to feel seen. Let your words come from a place of truth, not fear. Let your silence be your protection, not your weakness. When you stop talking just to feel accepted, you finally start to accept yourself. And that's when you grow. That's when you lead. That's when you stop needing the world's approval and become whole. Number 10, choose who earns access before you open your mouth. Your words are not for everyone. What you think, what you feel, what you plan, all of it holds value. But when you speak too freely to just anyone, you give people access to your mind without earning it. Not everyone deserves to know what's in your heart. Some will use it against you. Some will misunderstand it. Some won't care at all. That's why you must choose carefully. Choose who you allow close. Choose who you trust with your thoughts. Opening your mouth should be a decision, not a reaction. Your voice is powerful. Protect it like it matters. There's a difference between being open and being careless. Being open means you share with intention. You choose people who show respect, who listen with care, who handle your honesty with maturity. Being careless means you speak without thinking about who's listening. And that's when problems start. You say something personal and it gets used as gossip. You share something important and it gets dismissed. That doesn't build connection, it builds regret. Silence becomes a defense when trust is not present. Until someone proves they respect your words, keep them to yourself. That's how you protect your inner world. People often feel pressure to speak just to keep a conversation going. But real connection doesn't need constant talking. It needs safety. It needs patience. It needs respect. When you choose who earns access before speaking, you're not being distant, you're being smart. You're not shutting people out, you're setting boundaries. You're saying, if you want to know me, you have to show me you care enough to listen. That kind of decision makes your voice stronger. It means something. It's not scattered. It's not wasted. It's shared where it matters most, with people who've earned it. If someone hasn't shown you they're trustworthy, don't give them your truth. If they don't ask questions, if they talk over you, if they laugh at serious moments, they're not ready for real access. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to hand out your feelings to people who don't know how to carry them. When you choose silence over oversharing, you choose peace over stress. You avoid the emotional mess that comes from placing your heart in the wrong hands. Protect your voice by protecting who you speak to. That's emotional strength in action. Opening up is a gift. It's not a habit. It's not something you do for approval or attention. It's something you do when the environment is right, when the person in front of you has earned your trust through time, through action, through consistency. You don't owe people access to your private life just because they're curious. Curiosity doesn't equal loyalty, and attention doesn't equal respect. Pay close attention to who listens without interrupting, who keeps your confidence, who doesn't turn your story into their story. Those are the people who earn the right to hear what matters to you. The people you allow to hear your private thoughts have influence over you. If they're careless, their opinions can make you doubt yourself. If they're judgmental, their reaction can make you hide your truth. That's why it's important to stay silent until you know the person in front of you can handle what you have to say. Until then, you listen, You observe, you measure their words, their behavior, their energy. And once you see they're consistent, then you speak. That's not being guarded. That's being grounded. You're not avoiding connection. You're building it the right way. Too many people speak from emotion, not intention. They open up fast. They trust too quickly. Then they feel betrayed when people mishandle what they've shared. But the problem started before the betrayal. It started with giving access to someone who hadn't earned it. That's why discipline matters. It tells you to wait, to watch, to stay quiet until trust is proven. Not once, but over time. Speaking should never be based on mood. It should be based on clarity. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself, is this person safe for my truth? If not, keep it to yourself. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It means you've learned not to rush into conversations that lead nowhere. It means you've realized your voice carries weight, and not everyone should have access to that weight. You protect yourself from drama, disappointment, and emotional fatigue by being selective. Speak only when the moment is right, when the space feels safe, when the person has shown care and understanding. Until then, stay silent. Not out of fear, but out of self-respect. That's how you honor yourself before you speak. Your time, your energy, your thoughts, they're all limited. Use them where they'll be respected. Don't waste your story on someone who listens only to respond. Don't share your dreams with someone who doesn't believe in growth. Choose people who listen without judgment, who hold your words with care, who reflect instead of react. Those people are rare, and they're worth waiting for. Until then, talk less, observe more. Keep your life private until you see who's real. Then speak with honesty, not for attention, but for connection. That's when your words truly begin to matter. Learning to choose who earns access before you open your mouth is how you master the art of keeping things to yourself. It's not about silence for the sake of silence. It's about learning that your thoughts, your truth, your story, they're valuable. Not everyone deserves to hold them. Give your voice to those who've earned it. Protect it from those who haven't. Speak with purpose, speak with trust, and above all, speak from a place of clarity, not pressure. That's how you protect your peace, your progress, and your power. One word at a time. So here's the truth. When you learn to keep things to yourself, you protect your peace, your power, and your direction. You don't need to prove anything with words. Let your actions speak. Let your growth show. Speak less, think more, and move with purpose. Choose who earns your trust. Choose when it's worth speaking. The quiet choices you make today will shape the strength you carry tomorrow. If you want to build a better life, start by keeping more of it to yourself. That's not hiding. That's wisdom, and it's one of the smartest moves you'll ever make.